Welcome to Gay Like Me Conversations, where we discuss all things central to the Black LGBTQ community. Although some conversations intersect with the Black community as a whole. But either way, you're going to laugh, maybe even cry a bit, and you'll definitely learn and grow. It's time to start the show. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. When I say you can't tell us nothing with our little new intro commercial.
We got a new intro, we got new cameras, we got new lights. And welcome to our first show of Gay Like Me Conversations.
The second season.
Good
day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig the Writer Stewart.
And I'm Derek J. And we are here to have a conversation with you tonight.
And our parents, along with yours.
Yes. So we want to do something fun and involve ourselves in the conversation. And so this conversation is about parents of LGBTQ people.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to believe, you guys, but I am gay. And they didn't know.
And apparently, your mom hadn't had a conversation yet either. And that's as risky as I'm gonna get tonight.
But we felt that for the first conversation, it would make sense for us to have if this is that conversation, we should have this with our parents.
Right.
And that's what we are doing today.
Right. So one of the things that one of the things that we talked about when we started with this second season is setting our intentions, like for each episode, because there's a reason that we choose the topics that we choose and the subjects that we bring to you guys. So for me, my intention with this particular conversation was hopefully those of you that may be struggling with your identity, maybe this conversation will make it a little bit easier for you to navigate through the world and stand in your truth. That's my first intention. The other intention is perhaps we can send some sort of a vibration into the universe where perhaps some of you parents are struggling with your child's sexual identity. And maybe hearing these conversations with some of the parents will help you kind of have that come to Jesus moment, if you will.
And the same for me. I think that a lot of us see the end result. So the end result is me and Craig sitting here having these conversations, but we never know how we got to that point. And so, and that's this conversation for me. I want people to see like where, where we came from, what was our challenges, what was our parents' challenges, and where we are at now.
Was it a challenge for you coming out? Because it was a challenge for me.
You said it was a challenge for you?
It was.
It was never coming out for me. We just never talked about it.
But did you ever have like this internal like battle or wrestling with yourself?
No, I don't think so, because it never. No, I don't think so. Only through a religious standpoint. But like as far as my parents and my family, it just was not a conversation.
Right.
So it just never. It was like, you don't bring it up, I ain't gonna bring it up. Go do you.
Right.
And
I think a lot of people kind of do that.
Yeah. So that's what it is. Before we start, we are drinking. I asked my mom, could I have a drink? She said yes. But this is not a endorsement, but we are drinking Plush Vodka, which is a Black-owned vodka company.
Yes.
So it's Black History Month.
Yes.
So why not support?
Absolutely.
So Plush Vodka, they have it in regular vodka and they have it in plum, but we're drinking a regular vodka with some juice. And it's tasty. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. So
now, with what you just said, it was a struggle for me. It was an internal thing from a religious standpoint, but also it was like an internal battle for me. And I think a lot of Black, gay, or queer, or however you identify,
why you got to put closer?
Well, I identify as gay, but some people don't like that word. You know what I'm saying? So wherever you fall in the LGBTQ, but plus, because I forgot the plus. But I think it was an internal thing for me because there was a point in my life where I thought I could suppress the feelings. I thought I could manage the feelings. And there was a period where whenever I had a girlfriend, because my last girlfriend was in college, whenever I had a girlfriend, I didn't really have thoughts about guys or anything like that. But eventually there came a point where I realized that I couldn't control those feelings, and I started to understand that sexuality is instinctive, that it's how we're wired. It's not a choice, it's not a decision. No one chooses their sexuality, just like we don't choose our skin color, our hair color, eye color, or your height. Like you don't choose those things. Those things are innate.
Now, did you say height because I'm short or something?
No.
Oh, okay, I just want to make sure.
I mean anybody's height.
Anybody. Okay. So this is going to be an interesting conversation for me because me and my mother never really have had a conversation about gay stuff. So this is new for both of us. So with that being said, I will bring my mother up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey there.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good, Mom. This is Craig. This is my mom.
How are you?
Hey, I'm mad. Kansas City losing, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, she's watching. She's watching Super Bowl. We didn't know it was Super Bowl weekend.
But not when we planned
When we planned it, we didn't know it was Super Bowl weekend,
right.
so we didn't.
That lets you know how gay we are.
Right.
And he played football.
You played football?
I was made to play football.
Oh, there is a difference.
Yeah, I was made to play football. That was part of my toughening up.
Well, clearly.
You got lost somewhere.
So, Mother, hi. Well, thank you for being a part of this, and thank you for being on at 9:00 at night because you could be doing other things than being here with me. But so I don't know how we jump into this conversation.
Well, you want me to ask the first question?
Yeah, go ahead, jump into it.
So, I believe that your mother always knows. That's just one of the things that I say.
Right.
Was there a point that you knew about Derek?
Probably more towards junior high.
And what was it that made you think that he was gay?
He didn't want to play football no more. No. He was a one-play wonder.
Listen, if you have any photos of him in a
no, I don't think it's there's no photographic record of me being no football player.
Because I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, it's not. It ain't on it.
No, the camera phones and stuff wasn't out there too much about then.
And I think it's important to mention too for the people that are watching. You all know Derek, well, probably from the Bronner Brothers shows and different movies and Housewives, of course, and Fashion Queen. And he wears heels and purses, but you didn't start doing that until
I got to Atlanta.
Until he got to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he was in high school doing it.
No.
So what were you thinking when you first when did you first see him wearing heels or carrying a purse? Was it on television or was it in person?
No, it was on she didn't see it in person till
No.
It was on television.
Yeah, it was on television.
And
really, it was on television listening to the Tom Joyner show talking about him and the Housewives of Atlanta, but not knowing they were talking about him, basically.
So was it something that they said that kind of hurt you, or?
Not that it hurt, but I never really watched a lot of things that he was in. It's that if you don't look, you won't see everything. You know what I'm saying? Some things as a mother, you really just don't want to see.
Right. So did you ever feel like you would? Did you ever feel like you would broach the subject with him at all? Ever?
Did I ever feel like
that you would have the conversation with him at any point about anything?
Wait,
really,
do you remember do you remember the conversation that we had about this?
When we were in the car?
Yeah.
Oh, so she remembers.
And we were driving.
I tell everybody it was a very quick. It was a very just straight to the point conversation, and then we kind of never talked about it again.
I told you don't sell your soul, no matter what the price is.
Yes,
I remember that conversation.
So for you guys that don't know, so I moved to Atlanta, and my mom and dad came to visit, and my mom said, "Take me to the mall." And so we was driving, and so she just came out the blue and was like, is it my fault? And I just I said no.
You knew what she was talking about?
I knew what she was talking about. And she was like, okay. She's like, do you want to be a woman? I said no. She said, are you sure? I said yes. And
I said, thank God for that one.
Then she said, am I going to ever have any grandchildren? I said, maybe not from me, probably from Erica. And then she was like, is this something I got to deal with? I said yes. Then she made the don't sell your soul, right. No matter what. I said okay. Then she was like, okay, and that was it. So Mom, for you guys who don't know, I'm gay. My sister's a lesbian. So my mom has 2 children in the community. So for you as a mother, Mom, do you feel like? Do you feel like you messed up or you did something wrong or that any of this is your fault?
I actually feel like it's the sperm donor's fault.
I have a stepfather. So what? I mean, what would be his play in this for you?
Really nothing. I just want to blame somebody else.
Now, yeah, if you guys have been over to my channel, me and my sister had a conversation with my 91-year-old grandmother. Mm-hmm. So for you, Mama, how did you feel? How did you because grandma has became very understanding. Right. Grandma became very, hey, it is what y'all my grandchildren, it is what it is. And grandma still she likes to converse about it. We have not got you to that point. So what is it about the situation that keeps you from wanting to know more and have a conversation?
Well, I'm probably hoping at some point I will have some grandkids.
Well, what that mean? You think like? You think I'm gonna sleep with a woman?
Saying, okay. I'm just saying, maybe there'll be some changes. These are things that parents want to think. You know what I'm saying? That things might change to be different. You know what I'm saying? It just might become different. Although there's a portion of you that says it's not, but there's a portion that says you're hopeful. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're hopeful that you'll have $1 million, but you're doubtful that it's going to happen, but you still hope. You know what I'm saying? You still strive for certain things. So conversation, I don't want to really become upset. I don't really want to upset them. So if I leave it alone, one thing I do know for parents, you can either cast your children out and you won't have any interaction with them, or you have to accept who they are and have interaction. What's more important to you? I never kicked them out. I never, said you got to go. I never did any of that. So I try to balance what they're doing and maintain something with me. What that something is just, I guess, just going on and saying, I love my kids. I want them to be happy, but I have not been able to accept that yet. I don't know if you can really understand that.
No, I understand. I understand it.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really want you to know is that, and for everybody that's watching, it's a journey for the parent to accept it, just like it's a journey for us to accept ourselves.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I often tell people that are LGBTQ plus. Oftentimes we think that once we come out of the closet and we start to live our truth, that everybody else needs to just jump on board that same day. I was 22 years old when I first started to kind of crack the shell. Like I still wasn't telling people and that kind of thing, but I was just starting to move in my truth. But it took me 22 years to even start taking those steps. And so I had to realize that my parents didn't have to come around to it in 2 weeks. And I think sometimes we have to learn to be patient. But in the beginning of this conversation, I framed the conversation by saying that sexuality is instinctive and it's how we're wired. And just to give a very, very generic example, the same way that you want what you want for Derek is no different than a parent who has a child that goes to college, and that parent wants that child to become a doctor or a lawyer, but that child wants to be a dancer. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing. Or a parent who doesn't want their child to go away to college. And it is like, no, that's too far. So it's like, it's just about a meeting of the mind and trying to meet in the middle. That's it.
But then too, when you talk about that too, though, and Rick understand where I'm coming from, the dangers of the life that you live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I'm about to bring up my.
Yeah,
because that's the first thing that she said to me. She just was like, I'm just worried about
the world.
The world.
Yeah,
you know how it's perceived. But now, with that being said, I will say that my first time going on the working on the Time Joiner cruise, I took my parents with me, and that was her first time seeing me in my whole in person. Shazam. And hell, I was nervous. I was like, wait, and I'm like, I'm like, they're here, but they booked me to be Derek J, so I'm booked to be this person. But I will say, I think, and I don't know, we never really talked about it, Mom, but seeing the response of people, seeing the response from men and women on the ship in my full thing, did that change your thought process of it at all?
I don't think it changed my thought process of it at all. Really that was his world, and it was too busy for me. You know what I'm saying? It was too busy. Can you take a picture? Can you, when you're trying to have a conversation walking, you got to stop every 10 seconds. They want to take a picture. They want to do this. They want to do, and that's all good. That's his world. That was fine, but it was too busy for me. You know what I'm saying? I was like, whew, this is too much. I can't handle this, Now,
I got one more question for you before we bring Craig's mom up. Now, me and Erica are totally opposite. Where, for me, I was very, not to say, I was more respectful and mindful of how you felt and what your thought process was of things. Well, Erica is more.
This the way it's gonna be, Mama.
And, what did she say? What did Erica say?
This the way it's gonna be, without saying this the way it's gonna be.
And you're gonna have to deal with it.
Right. And I'm gonna have to deal with it. And so at that point, I knew I could either fall out with my kids or I can have a relationship with them.
Yes, yes.
And
sadly, there are parents who make the decision to not have a relationship with their kids.
Right. You just have to learn how to deal with it. My friends are respectful. You know what I'm saying? They don't go there. They just say, how's Derek or how's Erica?
And that was actually one of my questions. My last question for you, I was going to ask you, was there, like when you were saying you were concerned about how the world would respond to him, was there ever a point that you were concerned about your family or your friends and what they would think? Because I think there's a level of embarrassment sometimes for parents too. Yeah,
because I never really followed his pages. I never followed the Instagram. I never followed Facebook. I never followed, because I know that brings certain things that I didn't really want to see.
Yeah.
It's just like if your mother got a boyfriend, you ain't gonna ask your mother, you know what I'm saying? Everything. Yeah. And you don't want to know everything, nor do you want to see everything. Yeah. So that was my way of probably not having to really sort of deal with it. But they knew. They know. My friends know. But they're very respectful to my feelings, which I'm glad of. Because if they wasn't, they was gonna get the long handle spoon. Rick know that.
But I just want to say that I think it's I'm proud of you for having the courage to stand in your truth and be who you were on that Time Joiner cruise. with your mom being there and that being the first time she's seeing you in full regalia. Because I just think that oftentimes, especially when it comes to black gay men oftentimes shrink
when in front of
people, whether it's family, co-workers, at the barbershop, and oftentimes men shrink. Black gay men will shrink.
Well, I will say last thing I would say, Mom, is that I also appreciate Lonzo so much because that same time, the same trip that they was here, Lonzo was my stepdad, and he went upstairs and saw my closet, saw all those heels in the closet, and he was like, "Oh, okay. Well, they look good on you, and I can't do it, but okay." And then that was kind of just it with him. That was it. And it was like, so Lonzo never treated me different, never did me wrong, never made me feel any type of way. He was a little rough. Yeah. But I think now growing up, but now as adults, right. I understood where he was coming from. Yeah. But he never treated me differently or anything else. So I appreciate him for that. And I told him that. So, Mom, what we're gonna do, and we're gonna drop you down. We're gonna bring Craig's mom up, but stay here because we're gonna bring both of y'all together in a second. Okay. So watch the game, Mama.
Okay, I'm looking.
All right.
All right, and all the way from Baltimore, Maryland, 21215. Hey, Mom.
Hi, Craig. Hi, Derek J.
How are you, babe?
I'm fine.
Now, wait, before we even get all the way into it, has Craig always been this outspoken and this bossy?
Yes. From a little boy until now. I mean, in school, he just tried to run everything they had. When he graduated from daycare, they had a play. Well, most of the children didn't remember their lines, and he would just jump in front of them and say their lines and get back in line. The people in the audience were just falling out. And I'm like, why are you just taking over the play like that?
Well, you should have known that.
So you always have to take over spirit.
I guess.
So,
yeah.
So when did you know that Craig was a little different than the rest of the little boys?
When he was a teenager, and I would ask him all the time, was he gay? And he would be like, well, why you keep asking me that? And I said, because number one, you don't have a girlfriend. You hang with girls, but you don't have a girlfriend. And my oldest son, when he was like Craig's age, it was people my age calling him. And I'm like, and my son, even though he was in prison, he'd be like, how come he doesn't have a girlfriend? I said, Jimmy, I really don't know. I keep asking him, and he keeps saying he's not gay, so I don't know what's going on. So then when he did call and tell me that he was gay, so to think it, but then to have it confirmed was a different thing. So I really wasn't prepared for it. So I kept avoiding his calls. And so finally, we had the conversation. But my biggest fear was he would get AIDS, or that something would happen to him, because at that time they were starting to murder gay people. If they would catch him out at a club or something, and it was a straight club, then when it was over, some guy was killed out in, I think Kansas it was. And, it was just so much going on. So that was my biggest fear. And for him to go in this community, not knowing, I didn't know, what he knew and how to get started. It was just, a very fearful thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you remember that so well.
What? You act like you remember it.
Well, no. I'm talking about like that I actually called her. Because at the time, I was working for Hewlett Packard. Mm-hmm. And I had a boyfriend at the time. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. This was my first year living here. And she was going to come down for Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to have Thanksgiving together. Like, he wanted to cook. And his thing was, well, we don't have to tell her. You don't have to tell her. We'll just have Thanksgiving, this, that, and the third. And I said, oh, no. My mother's not a fool. And, he wasn't like over the top or nothing like that. But I was like, but you can tell energy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even if you never touch, you can just tell energy between people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up calling her and telling her from work. And I called myself calling her from work because I figured if the conversation got really tense, I could get off and be like, I'm at work.
Right.
But anyway, I ended up telling her, and she was just like, well, it's okay. She does this little laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that's her little uncomfortable laugh, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so about 2 weeks passed. And at that time, it was the first year that I was living here, like I said. And so we were talking on the phone probably every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that 2 week period, it was very touch and go. And I would call. She would say, oh, well, I just got in the house. I'm cooking dinner. Or I just got upstairs. I'm about to take my shower. Let me call you back. She was never trying to face a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we finally talked, she called and was like, listen, this is not sitting well with me. I don't want to meet any of those people, don't bring any of them around, and again, that's when I learned that a parent has to have their time too. Mm-hmm. And so what I did was, instead of trying to force feed her, and I think a lot of gay people do, and I can only speak for gay men because I've been around more gay men than anything. Mm-hmm. I can't speak for lesbians and how they matriculate, but a lot of times, once we come out and we tell our family, we just want to push it on them, and we got a boyfriend, and now we want to be all affectionate in front of them. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't do that. I felt like I needed to spoon feed her.
Right.
And so, like, she would call me and say, well, what did you do this weekend? And I may have been out with him for the weekend, but I never said, well, he and I would just say, oh, I went to the movies, or I went to dinner. I never included him. Mm-hmm. And then eventually she started asking, well, what's going on with this guy? And then her concern was that I would become HIV positive and die from AIDS. And that was her experience, knowing everybody that she knew that was gay. That was her experience. Mm-hmm. And so that was her fear.
Hey, we want to hear your mother talk.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez Louise.
But the reason I didn't want to come down for Thanksgiving, it wasn't so much about him in a gay relationship, but I was raising my grandson, and he was like, hell was Ty, maybe about 10.
No. At this point, because I had graduated from college, I was 22. So Ty was like 17 when y'all came here.
I don't think he was that old.
I had graduated college. I was 22. Ty is 5
when you wanted to have Thanksgiving dinner.
I was 22. I was living here.
Whatever age he was, I didn't want to have him go through, meeting him with a man, because we had never talked about it. And I just feel like, you just can't spring that on children like that, even though he was a teenager. He says, I think he was younger, but anyway, since we had never talked to him about it, and I didn't know how he was going to act once we got there. So I'm like, no, we're not coming. If he's going to be there, we're not going to come. We'll stay here in Baltimore.
Now, what was your process for you to your process and your growth to get to the point where you're at now with Craig?
Well, I think because he was honest with me, he would tell me, like, when he meets somebody, he don't really have sex right away. He always makes sure they get tested and that, they get results. So that really eased my mind a lot. And then once I met a lot of his friends and I found out that they, were pretty safe and they weren't, hanging out in dangerous areas and things like that. And I felt better because I came down when he put on this play. Well, I think even before he put on this play, I met a couple of his friends. And then when he did the play, I met more people. So it just made me feel a lot more comfortable. And then he was always open and honest. I mean, he wouldn't tell me anything about sex, but he would just say, well, we always get tested and we go together. So I don't want them to bring me something they could have falsified. I want to make sure that is correct.
Mm-hmm. Right. So your concern was never that he was gay. Your concern was more about the safety of the gay lifestyle.
Right, because growing up, my brother had a friend that was gay, and one of our neighbors was gay, even though he was younger than I was, but he was, still gay. And my parents just taught us not to disrespect people. We couldn't call the guy out of his name, and we had to treat him with respect. And he would come and sit and talk to my parents just about every day. He worked with my brother. And, so the neighbors, they all respected him. So, and then growing up, we would go to the Royal Theater, and they would have like the those review shows, you know, with the men dressed like women. And I mean, we be up there just crying on because we just really enjoyed the show. So, you know, it just never bothered me. And I think because, you know, my parents told us, you know, you have to treat people the way you want to be treated and not to call people out of their name. And then, you know, when Craig told me that he was gay, when he called and told me, I talked to my mom, and she was like, well, you still have to love him. It's still your son. And I'm going to love him. He's my grandson, you know, no matter what he, you know, whatever style of life he chooses to live. So, you know, my family was accepting. So, you know, I was fine, and my friends.
Now, did you feel like anything was your fault? Or did you feel like did you made a mistake, or did you did anything wrong in the process?
I just think, and I could be wrong, but I just think that God chooses different people to have children with different needs, you know, like children that are LGBTQ, children that might be handicapped, you know. I think it's just, you know, God picked you to be a parent of a person like that. And that's why I don't go to church, because I'm not going to listen to a pastor telling me, you know, your child's going to burn in hell because he's gay and it's not normal to be sleeping with another man. You know, I'm not going to be tied to somebody that's telling me that I don't care somebody for 9 months and they're going to burn in hell, because I don't think God put us there for that reason. So I just don't go to church. I just try to treat people the way I want to be treated. And I do donations to different charities. And that's my way of tithing. So, no. No. But I just don't go. I was raised Catholic, and I mean, I never remember them talking about sexuality, but you know, these pastors just throw it around like, and half of them are gay their own selves. But anyway, we on
that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, we're not into that.
Now you can talk again, Craig.
I mean, I don't think I really have anything else to say except for when I finally took my friends home, like a group of friends, not anybody I dated, but initially, but I took friends home. We'd gone to Pride, and I'll never forget my mom's sister. After I came back home to Atlanta, she sent me a letter. She wrote it on her stationery, and she said, we as a family accept you. To hell with everybody else. And that right there, I mean, I did cry when I read that letter, but it was just, to me, and I think that's what a lot of people really want and a lot of people miss. And when they don't have that relationship with their family, I think that makes the difference in how we move into the community. I think oftentimes, and this is not it's not intended to be a general statement, but I think oftentimes those of us who come from families that accept us and embrace us have a better time moving through the community than those who don't. Those who don't have that kind of family typically are out here looking for love, looking for sex in the park, looking for sex at a bathhouse, you know, whatever.
You know, and I applaud the fact you had the conversation to say, because I've never physically, like I never verbally said to my mom, hey, I'm gay.
Right.
Like that was never our conversation. Right. So I applaud you for having that conversation. And I applaud you. What am I supposed to call you, Miss Stewart or Miss Gladys? Miss Gladys. Okay. But I applaud you, Miss Gladys, for being open, accepting, and receptive. Because you know you didn't have to be that. You know, this all could have went to a whole other different way.
That's right.
So we're gonna pull. Because you said what?
Well, I met two different guys. One at a book reading that he had in Pennsylvania, and when he did the play, and this guy, well, the guy in Pennsylvania, his family had put him out. They were from, I think, the islands, and he was living with some guy just to have a place to live because it was homeless, and you know he was really being abused. And then when he did the play, I met this guy who really wanted to get, you know, to have a change, but his mother was so against it, and he was so torn as to what to do. And he would come to the play just about every day, and every day he would talk to me, And I often wonder, what did he ever decide? Because I told him, I said, you have to live for yourself. I know maybe once you go through the change, your mother will understand and you all will have a better relationship. But, it's a lot of suffering out here among LGBTQ community.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to bring my mom back up. Mom?
Yes?
Well, me, Craig's mom, Miss Gladys,
Hi,
this is my mother's mom.
Hi, how you doing, Miss Wormley?
Good, how you doing?
I'm good.
So,
Gary looks just like you.
Isn't he lucky?
Yes, he is.
So what I want to, so both of y'all guys had two different approaches on how to handle the situation of your children. Where my mom, we just don't talk about it, and y'all are the total opposite, where y'all do talk about it. But and in both of those spaces, I would say they both have their pros and their cons.
Yeah.
In both of those spaces, but I want to ask both of you guys while you're up. I'll start with you, Ms. Gladys. What advice? Because we have some other parents down here. What advice would you give parents that is raising a child in the community?
I think they should really talk to the child, try to have a better relationship with them, understand, what's going on, why this is happening, and don't make them feel, that they're less than. And, just try to have a good relationship with them. You have to show them that you love them. Involve the family, especially if you have family that can be supportive, because I know I have a large family, but as far as Craig's immediate family, his sister and brother and his nephew and his kids, they all have a really good relationship. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's very important. And I think too many people just listen to what's being said in the church instead of, really talking to God and seeing what he's saying to them about what's going on.
Mm-hmm. So, Mother, like I said, you had a different approach to it. And I know it, and it has its pros and its cons. But for you, what advice would you give somebody, because you had two kids growing up, and one, I meant to ask you, I forgot to ask you before. One, what was your growth to dealing with it? And then what advice you give parents that's going through the same process?
Well, like I said before, the growth is you're either going to have to learn how to deal with it or you're going to be cutting your kids off. So you have to weigh that out. Is your kids important to you enough that no matter how you deal with it, whether it's conversation or whether it's internal, are you willing to give up your relationship with them? And I was not willing to give up my relationship with my children. Mm-hmm. So I have to do a better job myself, but it's a difficult task. Like you said, this is not easy for parents. Although they're older now, I should be able to still deal with it. But some people just can't deal with it, and I might be one to say I'm better, but I'm not all the way there yet. And I'm working on it. But, I haven't had the conversation, which I should ask my kids, how has it really affected them on the way that I deal with things? Because people should know that too. It's not a one-way thing. How am I dealing with it? It's another way of how are they dealing with it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Drink a little bit. Pick that up and drink one for me now.
Eric was upstairs watching, and I'm an emotional wreck. So I'm like, he's tearing up. I'm like, okay, calm down. Go through. I cry off everything. So I'm trying to keep myself together, y'all. You know what, Mom? I feel like I do think that I do wish that we can have a better communication about it. But before that reason that we don't talk about it, That's why I never dated.
Mhm.
That's why I never. Are you coming down here?
Come on over here.
You know
Come
I'm
over here.
because you know I'm about to be ready to cry.
his eyes just watering up, sitting right here.
Here come the one. She don't water up too much.
I'm like, well, so I would say this, but because of the way you handled the situation for us, that's why I never dated. That's why, and I know this may be TMI, but I talk about it freely, so everybody here know. You know, that's why I never had sex. That's why I never had a boyfriend. That's why I never did any of those things, because if I didn't do it, that means we don't have to have a conversation.
Right.
So if I didn't date, I don't have to talk to you about me dating somebody.
Right.
If I was going through relationship problems, I don't have to talk to you about it. Because Erica be jacked up because she really want to talk to you about what's going on with her, but she can't. Mm-hmm. So I figured if I don't do none of those things,
you won't have to
I don't have to need to have a conversation. So we can keep our conversations very general and real, because I'm not doing any of those things, so I don't have to talk to you about it.
Because I think on some level, no matter how old you become, you still want your parents' permission.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
But you know what? I'm gonna say this. You know, before we came on, I showed the kids what I did today, which I understand living in your shadows of your parent, because I lived in the shadow of my mother. You know what I'm saying? We don't wear jewelry, you know, we don't wear makeup, we don't do certain things. And I'm the only one probably have kept up with that while she's alive, living in her shadows. Well, I had to step out of her shadows today.
So, and when she said, y'all, my mama just got her ear pierced today. She ain't never had her ears pierced because they raised Seventh-day Adventists and that don't do none of that stuff. So she got her ears pierced today. So that's what. So that was her. She was rebelling. And however old you are, I don't know. My mama lied about her age for so long. I don't know how old my mama is, but whatever age she is, she finally rebelled. But mama asked, she wanted to know. She said, the way that she has dealt with us and our sexuality, how has that affected you?
You said it. For me, it was tough because I was like, I don't like to not. Me and Mama talk 24,000 times a day, but it's like I can't never tell her like what my day is really, like what's really happening in my day. Like if I had a bad day, you know, when I had that bad breakup, I was in the room in the dark with my blinds closed. But my mom called me every day, and I had to
navigate around that conversation.
I had to get up and be like, "Oh, hey, Mom, how are you doing?" And not let her know that I'm in the room
in a fetal position.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I think other than that. But I think I've been pushing back on her a lot lately, and she has been doing much better.
Well, we got other people down here, and before I break into a full situation, I have to step away.
Hold it together.
Right, Miss Gladys, Mom, I want to say thank you guys for taking time out to have this conversation with us. Thank you for your honesty, your truth, your vulnerability, and I appreciate that. Yeah,
and I believe that this is really gonna reach some people, not just parents.
It has. I've been reading y'all's comments.
Right,
I can tell your eyes are down in the comments.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
So we're gonna start bringing up our next parents. I want to tell you guys thank you so much. Love you, Mom. Miss Gladys, I haven't got to meet you in person yet, but I love you too. And thank you guys so much.
So how do I keep watching this? Look, how do we keep watching?
Just stay in here, Mama.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, just stay here. Okay. All right.
Where do you want to go?
Whew. Y'all about to have me all. Y'all about to have this all the way down. And
I saw your eyes welling up. I'm like, Caroline, are you okay?
Y'all know I'm on an emotional record. I cry about everything. So let's start with in the order they came in.
Okay.
Well, Tammy ain't at her desk.
Here she is.
There she go. All right, we're popping up.
Take your mute off.
Take your mute off, Tammy.
How you guys doing?
Tammy. Are we good? How are you?
Good. I'm happy to be with you guys.
No, and I'm glad you were able to come with us. So tell us about you, Tammy. Tell us about your story. Tell us why you're here with us today.
Well, I talked to you guys like over the summer. I called in. I have 4 children. My oldest is 20. He'll be 27. My oldest is a male and he's gay. Then I have another son. I have 2 straight sons, and then my daughter is gay.
Okay.
I remember your email.
Yep. And I think I probably, unlike Craig's mom, I didn't know my son was gay. Had no clue, none whatsoever. He told me, I want to say like maybe 2 years ago. He finally told me, and I don't think I reacted the way that they wanted me to react. I've never at any point ever like was ashamed of them or anything like that. I was more or less like, well, with my son, it was more or less, you know, I don't really know how to respond, but I don't want you to think that I'm pushing you away. So we'll just carry on with the conversation and keep going. And it was never ever an issue. My daughter is a little different because she's younger, and I think
how old is
the
your
way
daughter?
Huh?
How old is your daughter?
18.
Okay.
And the way I found out was over some pictures on her phone. So my reaction in my mind was the same as if she was heterosexual. There's inappropriate pictures that you ain't got no business having, you know? So I wish I would have handled it differently, but it was such a, you know, it's, things are going and I'm just moving. You know what I mean? Just keep it going.
So how did you handle it? You said you wish you had handled it differently. How did
I wish I would have like sat down and had like in-depth conversations, and you know what I mean? Just
But what did you do?
I'm sorry?
I said, what did you do?
I said okay and then kept it moving.
So you kind of avoided it.
Yeah, I think I did, but in my mind, I thought I was letting them come to talk to me about it when they wanted to go in deeper. You know, in my mind, that's how I thought I was reacting. I don't know that they took it like that. I'm not the most emotional person, period. I'm just not. So it's hard for me to like have those emotional conversations. But for my son, I think like Derek's mom, my first question was, well, it wasn't a question. I just said, well, I do want grandkids because, and also he's the one that looks the most like me. So I definitely want grandkids from him. That's it. That's all I ask.
You know, y'all are so selfish, honey. Y'all just be worried about y'all, honey. Y'all want these kids, honey. Y'all just be worried about yourself. But so my question with you, being that you also have 2 kids that are in the community. Did you feel like you did something wrong? Did you feel like it was your fault? Did you feel like you made a mistake somewhere?
No, not at all. Now, I'd be lying if I didn't say that, you know, I did have to take pause because like you said, you know, it wasn't so much a journey. It's just you have, as a parent, you just have these visions of how you want your child's life to be. That's gay or straight. Doesn't matter. And then when they tell you that they're gay, well, you know that one part of that vision is not going to come to fruition the way that you visioned it to be. So it does take a little pause, but it's by no means like pushing them away or being ashamed or mad or anything like that. It's just trying to adjust, just coming to the realization that that vision that I had was, and it's my vision. It's not for them, you know?
Now you have, so your oldest son, you have 2 middle sons, correct? Now, and go ahead.
My second son and my fourth child are straight. My first and my third are gay. So every other one.
Okay. So now, your oldest son who is straight. Then you have the second child. So, but did they try to make your son straight? Did they
try to toughen him up?
Did they have any of those? Oh, because they didn't know.
No.
Did they know? Did they know?
No, my oldest. My two oldest talked. So I think my second son knew. I think he knew. Maybe, I don't know if it did. I don't think we never really had that conversation.
Now then, also, was there dads in their life? Are you married?
No, I'm single. And my two oldest have the same dad, and my two youngest have a different dad.
Gotcha.
And so, but no, they're. I mean, not on a constant basis. I'm a single mom.
And I think that a lot of times, parents oftentimes will think that because the father wasn't present,
that's why I asked the question.
That's a factor. But then something you said a moment ago too, where you said he hadn't come to you to tell you.
He actually, because he's a wrestler, he does pro wrestling, and I was picking him up from Iowa, and on the way back, just out of the blue, he goes, "So I'm gay," and I said. I paused for a second. I said, "So you got a boyfriend?" He goes, "Okay, I thought you were gonna want to talk more about it." I mean, I don't know what else to say. I didn't know what else to say, and then that was it. We listened to music and talked about other stuff the rest of the way home.
And I see some comments in the chat where some of the parents are saying, they have a gay son and the son has yet to come and talk to them. Sometimes you have to look at the relationship that you have with your child. And I'm not saying this for you, Tammy, but sometimes you have to look at the relationship that you have with your child. Have you created a safe space for them to have that conversation? Because you have to think about the things that you may have said.
That I asked him though. I asked him because I had my son when I was 16, so I grew up with him. We talk about everything.
Exactly.
I mean, this boy takes pictures of his poop and sends it to me on his phone. We talk about everything.
Right. But then you have those parents.
But not that.
Right. But then you have those parents that, may have been having conversation with their siblings or their husband or girlfriends or coworkers. And the children sometimes hear how you talk about gay people and they withdraw and they know that they can't come and have a conversation with you. So sometimes you have to think about that as well. But what I will say is, because oftentimes parents will ask me, well, should I ask him or should I wait for him to come or her to come to me? And you really have to just think about the relationship that you have with your child, because in some instances, it is a good idea to go to broach the subject. Because I read a story once where this guy, he was going to commit suicide, but his mom approached him and said, listen, I think we should have a conversation about this. But then in some instances, like with me, I really didn't want my mother to come and ask me about it. Like I just wanted to kind of, journey on my own. And then just
he thought I knew. My son, he said he thought I knew, and I was like, no, I had no clue.
Right.
But Tammy, I want to say thank you so much. Right, I want to say thank you so much for your story, because the thing, what we lack in our Black community is positive stories like this.
Yeah.
We always hear about they got kicked out and their family disowned them, but we miss the positive story where it's like, hey, this is my child. I love my child. I accept my child, and so I appreciate you. And I applaud you as a mother for having two. Yeah, for having two children in the community, having two children that is our brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
In the community, and you're raising them and accepting them for who they are and growing them up to be the best person they can be. I see this one question right here is he openly gay? Is he an openly gay man in his career, or is that?
I think so. I think because he just told me he did a video. Yeah.
Okay, and they have, because I mean, being a wrestler, it hasn't affected his career at all. Being a gay Black man. Okay.
No.
Okay, so Tammy, I want you to stay with us because we're gonna bring you back up and do a whole roundabout at the end. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tammy.
This is a great question right here. She says, why do we expect children to tell us that they're gay but we don't require that of our straight children. And that's something that I've said often. In fact, that was something that I said to my mom when we had the conversation. I said to her, I said, well, you know, and these were my words at the time. You really should be grateful that I'm telling you this.
Right.
I said, because if I was straight, I wouldn't have to come in. You know, if I was straight, I wouldn't have to make some declaration and be like, oh, well, by the way, I'm straight.
Well, because because straight is the exception.
Exactly.
It's just like, you know, they're not the exception, the assumption.
Yeah.
So they think that, you know, so when you come out, they're like, oh, I have a boy. Oh my God, you're gonna get a girl.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have a wife. You'll have kids. So it's the assumption of it. So like all these parents have the assumption they have a straight child.
Yeah.
So when it's not that,
exactly.
I mean, so
yeah,
you do have to explain.
Right. And I do think that it's important as an LGBTQ person to have that conversation with your family and your loved ones. So one, they're not consistently expecting you to come home with someone of the opposite sex.
Or a grandchild.
Well, I mean, I want to have kids. Carlton and I talk about having kids. But anyway.
You're getting kind of old, Craig. Now.
That's okay. I don't have to have ovaries.
Well, I'm saying though, I mean, but you don't want to be like 70 when your child is 20.
I'm not going to be 70.
60.
I might be 50.
When your child is 20?
No, not when they're 20, but I mean by the time I have kids.
Yeah,
anyway,
so when they get 20, you'll be 70.
Well, that's okay. I'll still be spry. I'm 44 now, and I'm giving very much 34.
Spry at 70?
I will be. Yeah.
We all can dream.
Hey, Adon. Unmute. Hey there.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I am well. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
No problem. So talk to us about your situation and why you are here with us.
So I have a 20-year-old daughter, and I always knew she was about maybe 6, and she wanted to play football, you know, with all boys team. And so I kind of always knew, and my best friend is a gay man. So I had a lot of experience with gay men, but not really with gay women. And so for me, it's kind of funny because I really didn't have a problem with her sexuality. When she came out to me, I kind of knew, you know, and when I asked her, she was maybe 12. And when I asked her, I remember she was like, you think I'm a lesbian? And she slammed her door and went in her room. And I was like, well, that went well. You know what I mean? And so I did it. It wasn't until later when she told me I did it to myself.
I slow down, girl. We ain't
sorry, I talk fast?
You talk real fast, girl. Slow down. We ain't on no time schedule. I mean, we is, but we ain't. Yes, so slow down.
Okay, I'm sorry. I talk fast. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah. I was with you though, but I was like, just slow down a little bit. Okay, so when you did approach her, she got upset about you asking her if she's a lesbian.
She did, and it was because she herself was struggling, and I
can connect with that because it was the same way with me.
Yeah.
Every time my mom asked me, she would tell me about what her girlfriend said. Oh, my girlfriend said, well, you're just so this, that, and the third. Why he don't have a girlfriend? And it was offensive to me, so I can connect with that.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to tell you though, I love it. I didn't know you were from Baltimore. I am too. So.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, my Darman. Look.
Come on, murder Darman.
Right? So it was, you know, so growing up I kind of knew, and I remember saying it to my best friend because, like I said, he was a gay man, he was openly gay, and I said, I think she's going to be gay, and he said to me, well, she's got the right mother for it. And so her growing up, I didn't really have a problem with it. Now, once she started to come into her own, the thing that I had a problem with was she would dress, you know, even now she dresses, you know, she's real butch with it. And I'm like feminine. So I don't have my daughter that I can go do nails and get my hair done. You know what I mean? And it's more of that. Like, okay, well, like if I want to go shopping, she does not want to go shopping with me. She's still awkward. She's not all the way, you know what I mean, comfortable. She's herself. She dresses the way she wants to dress. So it's not really that she's closeted, but it's just she's still uncomfortable. She doesn't really want to talk about it. She told me that the only thing she was uncomfortable with was telling me, because she's like, you're always so inappropriate. She's like, and I know you'll be telling like inappropriate jokes. You know what I mean? She's like, and I make her, I think, uncomfortable sometimes as a result. It's interesting when your mom was saying about church though, because I'm married to a pastor, a preacher. So
I remember your email.
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead and share that. I remember that. Go ahead and share that.
So here's the great thing. The thing about life is we have an opportunity to educate people. And so I'm from Maryland, but I grew up in LA from a very young age. So growing up in LA, like my mom had, several male friends that were all gay. So we were always around, people, and it's, LA is real liberal. We don't really judge people. You know what I mean? For the most part, you can listen in a bar and we have like a guy with a prom dress on with a full beard smoking a pipe in like the 90s. And I remember looking like, hey, how you doing? We were in the bar and kept it moving because we don't care about stuff. And so now I moved to the Midwest. I relocated. I got remarried. And they're very small-minded here. And so my husband being, in the church, and people have a different reaction to things. And so for me, my mama bear will come out real quick. So walk real, because you know what I'm saying? Because God's not for me yet. You know what I mean? They called him, not me. So,
and you got that Baltimore in you.
You hear me? So I have to really catch myself. So I have to be. So what happens is with him, he was, of course, he's Baptist, and so he was taught a certain thing. But he loves my daughter, and so for him, it opened his eyes because he loves her. And so where he was raised in the Midwest, and they might be a little more small-minded here, this is pretty much his daughter. And so, he now is a little more open-minded. The more we talk, the more he's being educated. Because one of the things I try to do is teach people empathy. And what I always say, and I'm with you, I don't understand why people feel the need to have to come out. Why does it have to be an announcement, what you do in your life? And so even when we talk about church and stuff like that, like for instance, not too long ago, someone was talking to me and the next day they started to quote Bible verses at me. And I'm like, but I thought we were fearfully and wonderfully made, because if we're made in God's image, God doesn't make mistakes, right? So how is this a mistake? This is my child. There's nothing about her that's a mistake. There's nothing about who she is that's wrong. And I understand when people say stuff about, the Bible or whatever. I'm like, well, I tell you what, we all gonna worry about God when we get there. Okay. I can't tell you, because guess what? If you have been fornicating and you sleeping with people and they're not your husband, wife, whatever, you're not married, then you don't have any room to talk because you've been throwing that thing in a circle yourself. So everybody has to just, fall back. So for me, I don't really do well with judgment. I don't really want to hear your opinion because I didn't ask you. This is my daughter. You understand what I'm saying? And I love her for who she is. And she's so young that she's 20.
Okay.
So she's just now trying to figure it out for herself. And when to high school, she started wearing a lot of makeup. So I asked her one day, what, you were wearing makeup all the time? And she said, I thought the more, and look, so I'm a crier too, Derek. So I'm trying to keep my little self together too.
Let's keep it together, baby.
So she said to me, I thought if I just wore makeup, I wouldn't be gay anymore. And so she's doing all these things to mask herself.
Well, for me, I always, I don't know, I never told it to my mom, but my prayer was always
mine too.
Well, no, not yours too. My prayer was different than your prayer. My prayer was always just to wake up and be a girl, because girls was like guys, and that's what it's supposed to be. I never prayed to be straight. I just pray. I'm like men.
Right.
So I would pray, and I just hey, Lord, just wake me up and be a woman, because girls like guys, and I can be a girl.
See, my prayer was to not be gay. I used to try to pray to gay.
Oh no, I like men.
Yeah.
I didn't want to stop that part. I just said, well, let me pray to be a woman. I didn't want to pray to be straight.
But there was something that you said a moment ago that I connected with also, when you were saying that your husband accepts your daughter. So that's now kind of opened up his mind and perspective to, I guess, gay, at least lesbian. But that's really what it's about. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's important for those of us that are in the community to stand and live in our truth unabashedly, because we have the opportunity to change the hearts and minds of the people that love us, our family members, our friends, whatever. I have a cousin who was kind of homophobic, if you will, and he was telling me about a coworker who was extremely flamboyant. He was like, I just don't understand why you got to act like that. And I remember saying to him one day, I need you to treat him the way that you would treat me. You love me. So he has family who loves him. And I said, you wouldn't want somebody to mistreat me. And he said, well, I never really thought about it that way. You know what I'm saying? But you can't have these kinds of conversations if you're living in the closet.
Right. True. But I think that, you know, people's perception can affect you. If you're someone who, you know, takes in or you care about another person's approval, it can really affect you. It's impacted my husband because I even noticed his messages, his sermons. I watch him admonish people within the church now because I didn't realize it until my daughter came out. She just came out to me like maybe 2-3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And I remember now we were in a hairdresser one day and they were talking about somebody that was gay and the women were talking about her. And my daughter looked at me and I was like, this is what it is for you. You know what I mean? To be young and be hearing people crack jokes and say certain things. And you know what I mean? And that's
why some people stay in the closet because they hear how the world speaks.
Right. And so it makes a difference. And so her senior prom, you know, because by this point I knew because we were talking about how you knew and coming out, she told me she wasn't, but I always felt like she was. So when she was probably about maybe 16, 17, I remember she used to always be in my room. And all of a sudden she started taking calls in her bedroom. So I was like, okay, this is different. And so we was talking and I thought I heard a girl's voice on the other end. I mean, she's in her room. She's got the door closed. And I was like,
you listening.
Okay, so. Right. I was like, I thought so. So I remember I said it to my mom and I closed. So I said it to my mom. So my mom, like, just out with it. Like, so when are you going to let us know, baby? Because we all know just yanked her on out the closet if she didn't want to be. Like, look, we know this is what it is. You know, we love you regardless, which I love for my mom because we had another instance years ago where my mother wasn't as open, but she has, you know, with a family member, but now she's older. And her thing was, I want to make sure I don't repeat the same mistakes. And so when she finally did decide, she was a mess. She called me on the phone. So I guess she was really thinking about it and it started to sink in for her. And she called us off the side of the road in tears, hysterical, crying and telling us that God would not love her. I don't want to cry. That broke me because this is what they do. That's why I understand what your mom was saying, because you can't sit in the church and then somebody is sitting and preaching, you know what I'm saying? All of these things that would even make someone get the idea that God wouldn't love them. And this is why, you know, you have to be real careful. So religion is really a sticky subject to me when it comes to the community, because, you know, you've got these people that have all these thoughts about something. And I always try to tell people, imagine if you like your man, you like a woman. Imagine if somebody told you that was wrong, but this is all you've known since birth. You know, we normally have our first crush to say junior high. And if everything about this is supposedly wrong, because that's what everybody else says, but that's not who you are. And to you, it's as natural as breathing. So to me, this is why we have to teach tolerance, because if we are Christians and if God's message is love, it should be the basis of everything that we do. And so we can't pick and choose certain things out of the Bible, but not others. You know what I mean? That's why it says be fruitful and multiply. But then you take birth control because you don't want more children. You understand what I'm saying? So we can't disparities there. And we can't pick and choose what we're going to follow, but then we can use something to hurt someone else. And so for me, you know, it's frustrating because I am in the Midwest now. Like I said, my husband is in a church. And you know,
where are you at in the Midwest?
I'm right outside of Chicago.
Okay. Because my mom is in Ohio, so believe me, I know everything you're talking about, girl. We get it. I get it, girl.
Got you. So my hope is that everybody can get educated. The other day, listen, I had someone, and they were talking about someone else, but they're well aware that my daughter is gay, and they must have texted me like a bunch of text messages and Bible scriptures, and it was like 10 at night. And I looked at the phone, and I was like, "Oh, I'm getting better." Because when I tell you, I wanted to blast that person, but then I thought about it, and I was like, "You know what? I don't have that kind of energy to give you. And I don't need to change your mind and your perception, because there's some people that's a waste of energy." And so, you know, so to me, the best thing to do is to use your life as a testimony by being happy and by being you. You fall in love, you find someone. Like my daughter, she never liked dolls. She'd be like, "I don't want kids. I'm not." And so me, I just got remarried and I just had a baby, which is hilarious because my kids are 20 years apart. And so he was a surprise that we brought back from Turks and Caicos last year. So
that's a rum punch,
you know. So
I can't take you. You said it was a rum punch. You said it was a rum punch.
It was the rum punch, and we brought him back after some more rum. So somewhere between like Puerto Rico and Turks and Caicos, we brought him back. And so us now being, that's why we were talking about you don't want to be 60 or 70 and have your child in their 20s. That's going to be us. We're going to be those geriatric parents with our little baby. And so we have, so my children, there's a 20-year difference. And I want him to know, because now he's a preacher's kid. You see what I'm saying? And I need him to know, and like his sister loves him to death. And so he is going to be taught tolerance. And when it comes to her and her coming here, I'll be honest, I'm always in protective mode because I'm just like, you bet not now. You know what I mean? When it comes to mine, because I do get protective, because I don't know, but she's got to face the world on her own. You know what I mean? And so I have to let her do that. So it's definitely a fine line as a parent. And I don't understand parents that throw their children away because of sexuality, because that's not really your business. It's their relationship. And I want her to talk to me about whatever. Although she goes a little too far now, because now she wants to talk to me about different things from sex on down. Like, let me ask you something. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I'm ready. I'm ready.
There was something that you said. I want to say this, and then we gotta move on to Vicky. She's our last person here. But there was something that you said about sitting in the church, and just from your perspective, sitting in the church and hearing a pastor or preacher talk about your child going to hell. Just imagine being that person,
right,
and hearing that every single Sunday. And for Black people who don't really understand the analogy that we're giving, it would just be like being a Black person sitting in a white church, and every single Sunday they're telling you that you're inferior and you're less than intelligent because you're Black. It's the same thing. And I think that because so many of us, when I say us, I mean Black, gay people, trans, gay, lesbian, whatever, because most of us were raised in the church, and hearing that type of ideology every single Sunday, I personally believe that's part of the reason why so many gay men, and I can only speak from the perspective of a Black gay man, come into this community so broken.
Right.
Because in a million little pieces, trying to piece themselves back together. Because they've been broken by the Black church, the Black family, and the Black community.
Right.
So we're gonna go to. I'm sorry. Something popped up. I got ADD, child. I saw something pop up over here. So powerful. We're gonna put the link in the thing for powerful. And then Adon, girl. Let me tell you something, Adon. Baby, you talk fast, but you got some information coming on now.
Yes,
girl.
you did.
Thank
you. We're gonna drop you back down. But we're gonna bring you up for a roundabout, okay? We're gonna bring up our next guest.
Thank you.
Hey, Vicky. I know we did it quick. I'm sorry.
Hello.
Hey, Vicky, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for being a part of our conversation tonight. And let us know why are you here? Why are you part of this conversation?
Okay. Well, first, Craig, congratulations to your show. You got. I'm excited because I watch all of you guys. I'm right
Thank
here.
you.
With you. I'm excited for you. How I got to this point. Well, I was on a live with Craig, and he invited me to come on. But I have two babies. They're not babies anymore. I got a 28-year-old and a 21-year-old, and they both in the community, which I'm a proud supporter with them. With my daughter, I kind of just knew. And I'm just gonna go ahead and say this: I don't want to be a grandma. I'm cool with that. We don't have no babies at all. So I don't even pressure them about babies. I'm over here telling them I don't want none. So so they don't have to bring any babies. But with my daughter, I kind of just knew. I'm a girly girl, And I was telling my daughter this the other day. She can kind of rob me of the prom and go and get her nails done and all those things now. I mean, before, but now she go get the makeup done, the nails and all that. So I didn't get to do that when she was younger because she was trying to figure out her identity. So she was, taping the boobs down, hiding herself, padding, doing all these different things. And I just didn't understand why. I'm like, well, what is going on? But I knew it had something to do with her sexuality. I just didn't know to what degree. And my daughter was having some other issues. And one day she wrote, I think she was around about, I want to say high school maybe, or middle school. She wrote a little note to me and just let me know she, was a lesbian. And I looked at the note and I was like, okay, that's cool. But what about this other stuff that you're dealing with? Because I can't do anything about the sexuality. I'm cool with that. But the other trouble you get into, we need to work on. That's what we need to work. So
was she having like behavior problems in school? Is that what you mean? And see, I think a lot of times what happens is when a child is struggling with their sexuality, they sometimes act out at school. And that's not just because of sexuality. Sometimes when the child is being touched, and I'm not connecting the sexuality with being molested. I'm just saying sometimes when a child has something going on, that's when they start acting out in school.
Yeah, she has some things going on, you know, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, sister, we got to get this other stuff under control. Now, your sexuality, I can't do anything about that. I'm open with you. That's fine. Okay, this is what it is. That's fine. And with my son, it was a little different because he was, you know, I didn't see that. My son is bisexual. Is it bisexual, I think? Because he started out asexual. He wasn't having any relationships with anyone, right? And then he, you know, as a young kid, he had little girlfriends, you know, Valentine's Day and all that little stuff. And he did have a girlfriend for a while. And then how I really had a conversation with him, he moved into his own apartment and he said he had a friend over. And the friend has a girl sounding name, right? So I don't want any grandbabies. So I told him, I say, listen, she don't need to be over there late at night because we ain't having no grandbabies.
Right.
So he's like, well, the name is a guy. I said, oh, it's a guy staying all night? He said, yes. I said, so did we make a decision? He said, Mom, we'll talk about this later. So that's how I was introduced to the boyfriend, which, I mean, I'm open with my kids. We talk about everything. We talk about too much. I think I'm more vocal than vulgar with them. It's some things, I mean, everything's on the table. I'm talking to them about everything. I don't care. Everything is on the table.
I'm just very, I mean, I know that we don't never get, sometimes we want to get the negative part of it, but I'm very happy with this conversation that we got all these parents that's like, listen, there are parents out here that's like, yo, that's what you're doing over here, but your concern, Vicky, which I appreciate, was like, okay, you gay, you're a lesbian, but I'm a parent and you still fucking up. So let's how we gonna get this right.
That's exactly what I was like. Listen, you got a whole.
I'm sorry, Mama. I didn't mean to say that. But that's energy.
That's how I felt. I'm sitting here like you're getting suspended. You're getting in trouble with school. You know what I'm saying? These are things that can follow you throughout if we don't get this under control. The anger and, you know, not respecting authority, that was an issue that we was having. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, what we're going to do from here, where we're going to go from here, we can work that out. We can talk that out, whatever. But that other stuff, we need to get under control. And my son is kind of like, when you see him, I mean, it's not like his mannerism says, you know, so I didn't really see that with him because I'm trying to go back now. Like, okay, did I miss something? I don't know. But I mean, I'm cool either way though.
And how old is your son?
21.
And then your daughter is how old?
28.
Okay, so you went through the process with your daughter first.
Yeah.
So you went through the process with your daughter first. So then when your son, so how old was your daughter when she wrote you the note?
I think she was, I want to say either we was like early, I think it's either high school. I'm thinking high school because we had some issues.
How does your son tell you?
He didn't really say per se. Like I said, when he had company over, and I thought it was a friend. Okay. And he was like, "Oh no, it's a guy." And so when I was asking him about getting on here talking with you guys, is it okay to share and whatever? He's like, "Yeah." So we was talking, and I said, "Well, I don't know if it's bisexual, where we at, or what's going on." He said, "Well, you only think I had one person, one female in my life?" I was like, "Well, I did." He said, "No, I didn't." I said, "Oh, okay." Yeah. That was good to me. And even with my mom has since passed, but my mom was in support of everything. She was, didn't have an issue with it. And the thing of it is, we come from from Louisiana originally. So, living in a smaller country town and the mindset of, things like that. She was like, if anybody needed to know, come through her. If they had any questions, come through her, and she would get them straight. I'm like, okay. So they didn't have support all the way through. And I did ask them recently, to give me a report card on like, how am I doing on a scale of 1 to 5? Am I available for you? Am I open for you? What are you needing from me? That sort of thing. So
that's awesome.
Thank you so much, Vicky. So you stay right here, Vicky. We bring up Adon and bring up Tammy right now. Okay. Please. I'm sorry. No, bring them all together.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so leave Vicky up, then bring up Adon, and then bring up Tammy. So we're gonna start with you, Tammy. What advice would you give to a parent that has a LGBTQ plus child? But what advice would you give them on just dealing with and managing and just being in their life? Are you still? Well, you mute. I'm about to say, girl, why can't I hear you?
Sorry.
There we go.
My first advice would be to listen. Just listen, and also to not let yourself, not be hard on yourself for not being or for needing time to adjust.
Okay.
Because there's guilt that comes with that. You feel bad about it.
Yeah.
My advice would be to step outside of yourself, because quite honestly, it's really not about you. And as parents, sometimes we have a hard time with separating our children because we look at them like they're an extension of us. And it was my daughter who had to say to me, I'm not you. You have this expectation of me and I'm not you. So they have to be who they are. And it's really stepping back and really being there for your child. Just like you're there for them when they're babies, you have to be there for them in this, because in this, they're babies too, because they're trying to figure out who they are. And because they've been fighting and struggling, you know what I mean? And they're finally standing in their own truth. You got to really be there for them like you would when they were babies, and let them know that I love you unconditionally, and be there for them so that they can talk to you about what they're going through. And they, like with my daughter, I make jokes all the time. When I told her, I said, listen, you need, because she doesn't have a lot of lesbian friends. And I was like, we need to find you some like little lesbian mentors or something, because she's always around a lot of guys, but she's never really around a lot of lesbians. And so just because I want her to have community, you know what I mean? Around men isn't really, you know what I mean? So, but I have to let her be her and find her way. And so as a parent, I just suggest that you love them through it and just be there for them. And even if sometimes you're uncomfortable with it, remember that this is your experience that you're having. Because like you said, Derek, you don't want to inflict unnecessary pain with them while you're trying to resolve your stuff. And again, when you're trying to resolve your stuff about your child's sexuality, that's you. It's a you problem. It's not their problem. You see what I'm saying? So you got to really deal with your stuff on your own and be there for your child, because they're going through, and this is a new experience for them, and they've got to deal with the world. They don't need to have to deal with home too. They need at least a base to love them. So that would be my opinion and my suggestion to a parent. Just remember, this is your child and you love them. I know someone who personally, once they found out their child was gay, they did kind of cut them off. And to me, that's your child. And again, that's because of your own stuff. And so that would be my advice to them, is just love them through it and be there for them, and then deal with your own stuff later. And then you can talk to your child about it though, but you know what I mean? And work through it, but be that soft place for them to land. That would be my suggestion.
Vicky, same question to you.
Well, I was going to say, like she was saying, I try to create a safe place for my kids, no matter what's going on, whether the relationship is going well, or if it's not, or indifferent. Just being able to let them know that I'm here. I don't want them to have, if something's going on, that I be the last person that they call. I want them to be, I want to be on the top tier. If something's going on, good or bad or indifferent, they can call me and we can have a conversation. And just allow them to be them, because you don't want to, sorry. You don't want them to not be in your life. You know what I mean? You want to have a relationship. And the further you keep pushing your ideologies on them, they're going to pull back and go somewhere else. And like you said, like your mom was concerned about you tending to these different dark places and dark avenues. That's where they're going to go, because if they don't have peace and love at home and the outside world is giving it to them more than you're giving it to them, that's where they're going to follow. So just make sure you create a safe environment, and also to do a self-check on yourself too. As parents, there's no handbook. I mean, we don't have all the answers, and then sometimes you got to bow down and just listen.
Well, you ladies, thank you, ladies, so much for being open and honest and sharing you guys' story with you. We really appreciate you, ladies. Thank you.
I love Black women.
I do too.
I really, really love Black women. But thank you guys. Thank you so very much for this.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not gonna question for you, Craig, because Vicky said something really good.
What's that?
I said Miss Gladys is still here. My mom is still here, and she said something that I want to pose that question to both of us.
Okay.
Is that if you had to grade your parent from a 1 to 5, on
5 being the best,
5 being the best, 1 being the worst, where would you put your mom at?
I would say a 4.5, and I would really say a 5. I was gonna say a 4.5 because in the beginning she was kind of standoffish, but I have to remember what I was saying earlier. You have to give them the time to kind of, accept it and embrace it and learn that new reality. Because like she said, like my mom was saying, it's one thing to suspect it, but once that reality hits and you can't pretend not to know anymore. So, but no, I think she was a 5 because, she started researching and looking up stuff. Like she was watching Queer Eye for the Straight Guy before me. Like I didn't even know what that was. And she said, there's this show called, so she would always tell me stuff and she'd read articles and send them to me. So I think she was a 5.
Okay. I would say I would give my mom a 3.5.
Okay.
Only because we still have, as you can see, we still have work to do.
But she did broach the subject.
But you
I
did
will give her credit for that.
So so a 3.75.
Yeah.
More closer to a 4. We ain't a 5. But we are there. We're on our way to becoming a 5. Don't know how long it will take to get to the 5.
Yes.
But we're gonna get there.
Right.
We had 2 people pop into the room. We're gonna go with the first person that came in first, which was David Trimble. So let's pop David up.
Hey David.
Hi, how are you guys?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I love you guys. I swear I do. And y'all, to the parents and to you guys, y'all honestly have, at 28 years of age, y'all have like opened my eyes. And I'm gonna share this to my mom. She's actually crocheting at home in Illinois, and I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But I'm gonna share this to my mom because it was with my life and my lifestyle, it was very emotional, and it was all I wanted in my life was for her to know. I didn't care about nobody else knowing about me, but I wanted my mom to know. And a lot of people, sometimes, especially as a child, me being the only boy and a baby boy of 4 older girls, it was hard. It was hard to come out because my mother was more accepting. And I'm gonna say this, even as being young, like I heard gay. You're gonna be gay, you're gonna be gay, you're gonna be gay. I didn't know what it was. Genuinely did not know what it was, wasn't thinking about it. But I always tried not to justify who I am to anybody because I know who I am. I'm a God-fearing man and I know who I am no matter what. But when I told my mother, I was scared. I was terrified. And she wasn't the type to shun me, but it was more so you always got that one fear in you that, will she accept you or won't she? You love your mother. My mother, when everybody go through their trials and tribulations and you love her, but you always got that doubt in your mind, like, is she going to accept me or is it going to be over the top? I had to calm my mom down at one point when I first told her, and I told her at 21. I saved myself till I was 21 of dating and everything. And then I'm like, when I first started dating a female, it didn't sit right with me. I'm like, this ain't me. I know it ain't me. So I'm like, I had to tell my oldest sister, and a crazy thing.
I think we may have lost him.
We may have lost you, David.
David, if you
just take yourself out and come back in.
Yeah.
And we'll bring up Powerful.
Hey there.
Hey, Powerful. Okay, you hear us?
Hey. How you doing? Well, my story's a little funny. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My daughter, I always told my kids, you know, tell me, you talk to me, you can tell me anything. And when my daughter was 18, that's when she came out. But I knew my daughter was gay when she was 15 years old, but I knew that I needed to let her make that decision on her own. So, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, so it was so funny because my daughter's on the phone and she's typing and she's saying, "Ma, I have something to tell you." And I'm saying, "Colleen, what is it? What is it?" She says, "Oh, I don't know how to tell you." And I said, "Well, what is it?" She said, "Oh, I don't know how to tell you." I said, do you want to tell me that you're gay?" She didn't answer me back. She came flying down the stairs and she was like, "How did you know?" I said, "I'm your mom. I know these things." And I said, "What was the struggle?" Colleen? Because I said, you know, you can talk to me anything. She said, "Ma, parents say that until it's their child."
That's right. That's right.
And I was fine with it. I've always been fine. My best friend is gay. My best friend is a lesbian. So I've always been fine with it. But it was so strange to me that because I've been telling my kids over the years, you can talk to me and tell me anything, that she struggled with that. That was the strangest thing to me, because I'm telling you, come and tell me anything. I'm open. But she did say, "Mom, when it's your child, parents change up on you."
Yeah.
And I've even had to house kids where friends of mine, their parents put them out. And I've lost friends behind that.
Yeah, yeah. Because you took them in?
Yeah, because I took them in. Because I took the kids in. And another thing, I joined PFLAG, but one of the things that I knew that needed to be done in PFLAG, we opened a Black parents portion of it, because tell
people, we know what PFLAG is, but tell the people that are watching what PFLAG is, just in case they don't know.
Okay, PFLAG is an organization that is for parents of gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual children that come in to get clarity, to get help, to get understanding. But one of the things that we did within the organization, we started a Black parents part, because we have different issues than other parents.
Yes.
So I mean, it's a good thing. I don't know how many other states have that, but in New York, that's what we started, and it's good for the parents. It's very good for the parents.
Right. That's awesome. Because one of the things that I've said so many different times is like GLAAD, HRC, PFLAG, the Trevor Project, which focuses on suicide in the LGBTQ community. Oftentimes they represent white folks, and that's why when we create Gay Like Me conversations, this is why it's so specific to Black. It's not that we don't
much so.
It's not that we don't want to be of service to other people, but there's not enough for us.
Exactly. That
awesome.
is true.
Calling in.
Yes, thank you so much, Powerful, for calling in. I appreciate you. And and thank you. And also, thank you for doing your part to help make this better across the board.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Have a good evening.
You too.
But David's back. Go back, David.
Okay, David.
We back.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
I was stating, like, when I had told my mother, my sister, my oldest sister, she is a lesbian, and I was so scared to tell my mom by myself. I had told my sister, "Come downstairs. I got to tell mom something." So she was like, "Okay," and she was like, "What you got to tell her?" I'm like, I think I'm gay or bi-curious or something. I say, "I don't know, but I got to tell her." And she was like, "Okay." so I went down there and I said, Mom, Dad, I got something to tell you. And they was like, what? I say, I have a boyfriend. And it just came out. I was like, I have a boyfriend. And they was like, okay. And I'm like, okay, that's it. Okay. And they was like, yeah, I already knew you was gay. And I'm like, how did you know? And they was like, I don't know. My dad said he didn't know, but my mom said she already knew because she could just see it. Like, I guess for me, I was fighting myself because I'm like, I hang around with female, maybe I just got feminine ways. I grew up with all girls. So I'm like, I didn't see it. Like I said before, when I was young, I didn't know nothing about it. I heard it all the time, but really didn't know anything about it. And um she's it's a difference when you say, okay, I already knew it and I accept it, but then you start seeing a little bit change in it too. Because when she said she knew and it's okay, you be who you are or whatever, but then throughout the years you will see a little bit of difference too. You have and I had wrote in a comment basically of sometimes parents just all the kid wants is the acceptance of this is who I am, and I'm still the little old David that you know. I don't want the extraness. And she used to sometimes she didn't know how to. I could tell she didn't know how to handle it because she was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go out and get a dress and this," and I'm like, "Ma, if that was me, that'd be fine, but that's not me. I just like what I like, you know." And some parents don't know how to react. So when I was listening to the parents on there, it's just like they said, sometimes you really do have to talk to your child because it's not you want them to go change their life for your lifestyle, but you want them to just be like, okay, this is you. I accept you. I love you. You still my baby boy, baby girl. You know, I it's just it's sometimes it's a hard shell to hit, and then you see your siblings have kids and everything, and I'm married. I up and got married. Didn't tell nobody. I up and got married. Like what? With me and my husband been together for 3 years, and we been married for one, going on two in March. And it was a hard thing to do when not seeing your family there at the wedding and not seeing getting the support and with the life that and I never ever exposed this publicly, but with the lifestyle that I grew up with was very sheltered but very closed in and very stern with my grandmother. But sometimes when you go through things, I was honestly molested by all my sisters, and I'm gonna just say it. All my sisters. I'm not gonna put names out, but I was literally from touching, licking, everything. And I had questioned it. I was watching the Steve Wilkos show, and me and my dad was there watching the show, and I questioned, and I was crying because the similar thing happened to me. And he was like, "What are you crying for?" And I'm like, "Nothing, nothing." And then he was like, "No, I know it's deep, but you're crying, crying." And I said, "Well, this is what happened to me when I was younger." He was like, "I don't believe you. Call him on speakerphone." And I did. And the thing that was said, and I just honestly, it took all the way, I'm 28, it took 2 years ago for me to really forgive because they stated, "Oh, we was young and dumb. If you can't get over it by yourself, go see a shrink." That can hit you hard.
Yeah.
And and people who hurt other people will make it like it's your fault, like you was the blame for it. And all I wanted was an apology or just acknowledgement that this was messed up, we did this, we're sorry. But it it's a hard pill to swallow, especially in this lifestyle sometimes because so many people you can see so good. You can see if people can see good in straight people, it's so much greater things as well in the LGBTQ plus community as well. Like we have hearts as well as everybody else. We're human. We are human. We care. We love. I ain't gonna say we do it stronger, but sometimes I be feeling that way too. We go to the end of the earth, and sometimes it's just You got to look at life as it's this person's life. It's this individual's life. How can you judge? How can you judge on somebody else? And y'all did the rating thing with the parents. If I can, at this stage in my life, if I can rate my mom, I can rate her a 5 because she have truly now overcame every obstacle with me. And I can truly say now, years ago I couldn't, but now I could call mama and be like, Ma, look, me and Roger, me and my husband, or I'm going through this, I'm going through that. I'm going to the doctor. This the problem, that's the problem. And it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. And I pray every day that everybody who, whether you're straight or gay, lesbian, bisexual, or any whatever your sexual orientation is, I pray that everybody get to have that one person in a corner or multiple people in a corner that support them and they can freely speak out. Because the more you bottle it in, the more it will tear you apart.
Thank you so much, David, for coming in, and I'm glad you popped in because now we was able to hear from a child side of it, and I appreciate that, and we will love when we have some other conversations coming up later on that we will love to have you a part of. So make sure you email us your information so we can reach back out to you. Okay.
Okay, will do. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. No problem. Craig don't know what he's doing. Hold on.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get.
Okay, we have our resident journalist, Amber. You can't come up here talking a whole bunch, girl.
Because we're wrapping up.
We're wrapping up, Amber. Hey,
Hello,
Amber. We can hear you.
All right. Well, I just wanted to come in and say a few things after listening. Because I wasn't gonna come in.
No, wait a minute, Amber. You breaking up a little bit, girl. Where you at?
I'm at my sister's house. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead, back.
All right. Well, I just feel I have a difference in opinion with the whole acceptance thing with parents. Like, I don't feel like it's something that they necessarily have to come around to accept. I feel like it's more so they should unlearn what everybody else has taught them about gay people. Like, it shouldn't be an acceptance thing. It should be an unlearning type of situation because a lot of parents, they're not honest. Like, you feel that you used to feel that way until you had a gay child because of religion. So that's what it is when they say that. And I feel like that wasn't talked about enough tonight. And I ain't trying to talk about it mom or nothing like that because I don't do stuff like that. But I feel like that's what it was in a lot of cases. And some people don't really be honest and say that. That's all I really want to say. Just not accept the thing. I feel like we sometimes use a different terminology or the wrong terminology rather when it comes to these kind of conversations.
Right. No, I get that. And that's a valid point. That's a really good point.
Thank you, Amber.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I can't remember what the email was.
Oh, right, the one that emailed us and was saying.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, I forgot. I'm glad you remember that.
Yes, I don't know where, but we was gonna read the email, but we had another parent that was getting ready to come on, and
I got it.
There we go.
You want to read it?
Yeah. So I'm not gonna. But she emailed it, so she was supposed to come on as a guest. But as she said, last week my daughter sat down with me and told me that she identifies as trans and not a lesbian. Since then, I've been thinking and praying on whether or not I should be on the panel and discuss it, being she doesn't want to tell everyone else yet. She's only 10 years old, and the minute she told me that she was trans, I got into protection mode because I know how family and the world can judge. So she is so young, and after thinking about it, I want her to come out. I want her to come out the story to be her own. I myself are still coming to terms that my daughter wants to be a boy, which I'm okay with. But to be honest, I'm very emotional over it. She says she's gonna be watching the show tonight, and she says okay that we can talk about this over the show. I mean, we can talk about this on the show. And
she basically said in an email that she was crying as she was typing this email.
Yeah,
and she was saying that her daughter now wants her to call her, him, and he. Her pronouns would change. And so she asked us for suggestions in terms of like who she can speak to. And I'm glad you remembered to bring this email up because I completely forgot. But when Powerful was talking and she mentioned PFLAG is a good place to start, especially if they have a section for Black people. But PFLAG would be a great way to start. If that is not a good match for you, then I'm not sure where you live. Just Google in your area parents of LGBTQ children and see what comes up. And then, because I'm sure there's support groups in your city.
This was a great conversation.
It was.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you, it took everything out of me not to be an emotional wreck.
You did good.
But I did good. I held on. I stayed strong.
You did.
I stayed strong. But it was just, I'm happy to be able to share these type of stories.
Yes.
And not to always be a negative story. I know there are Black women out there that support their children, that stand by their children, and that are there to raise their kids to be the best person they can be, regardless of sexuality.
The only thing that I would say, I love the conversation.
Yes.
But I always be looking for something else.
I know you do.
The only thing that I would say is it would have been really nice to have some fathers on here, some Black men fathers on here who embrace their children.
And and we don't have that on here,
right?
But we could.
we can throw that up in there. We can throw that in there.
So we will do that. We'll find that. But what do we have up next?
All right, so listen, we are ready for this next season of episodes of shows. We curated this. We did take some of your suggestions as well. Our next conversation, again, it's going to be on Sunday because our new night is on Sunday.
Yes.
So it's going to be 2 weeks from today. And that conversation is the double standards of bisexuality.
Yes. So in this conversation, we are looking for bisexual men and bisexual women. Because what we do know is that bisexual women are way more accepted in the general population of the Black community than bisexual men are. And for me, I'm not a firm believer in bisexuality.
You're not?
No.
Okay.
But we will have that conversation. But so that's just me.
But you know what I will say though is, because remember we promised them that we would allow Black women, heterosexual women, to participate. So I would even say Black women, if you want to participate in this conversation too, because I think it's probably important to hear from them and why they're more accepting of a bisexual woman than they are a bisexual man. Because some of them who identify as Black straight women probably dipped in the lady pond before,
right? In
college,
right?
But if a man had one experience, oftentimes in the Black community, oh no, he's gay.
Yes.
So I would venture to say, if you're a Black person,
come talk to us.
Come talk to us.
So we want to have this conversation. So 2 weeks. What date is that?
That is on the 21st, February 21st.
Yes.
Let me put the flyer back up. Yes. It's February 21st.
February 21st.
And if you want to participate in that conversation, please email us it's scrolling at the bottom.
Yep.
It's glmconvo@gmail.com. That's glmconvo@gmail.com. Email us. Let us know that you're available and you want to participate in this panel. And please check your schedule.
Yeah.
Because a lot of you will email us, especially.
Well, we did, but let me say something. Tonight, we did not know it was Super Bowl. We did not know it was Super Bowl. We didn't know nothing about Super Bowl tonight.
Right.
So we apologize for that, but we want to appreciate to all 300 of y'all that was with us tonight.
Yes.
We appreciate you guys. We do have to do some housekeeping.
We do.
And some of the housekeeping is, y'all see these new lights, y'all see this new camera, y'all see all this stuff, and this shit costs. So I left my other phone upstairs. So
okay.
I'm sure you guys have donated to the GLM Convo Cash App.
Right.
And I want to say thank you to everybody. But I don't have the phone to tell you who it was, but I know you guys did. And if you have not, please send us a cash. It's on the side.
Oh,
not over here.
Oh, right here. Oh, right. Yeah. That one. Yeah, it's up there.
It's up there. So please do so. And yeah, I mean, this is our first show.
It was.
And I want to say thank you guys for everybody. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Get this. This channel could be amazing. Like me, Craig and I decided to take it off of our individual channels, make it one channel.
Yeah.
So we would love to get 100,000 followers on this.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Yeah, we're speaking to existence.
Yes,
it's going to happen.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, we're going to have 100,000 followers on this channel. So please like, share, subscribe. You know, we post on your social media things, on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your Instagram. Let people know to come and have this conversation with us.
Right. And anything that you contribute over here to GLM Combo, we're going to use that for production costs.
Yes.
You know, we have an intern that helps us. She reaches out to all of the guests. We pay her. And of course, again, for the lights and all of the flyers, all of this stuff that we have to pay for, the photo shoot that we did.
Yeah.
So anything that you contribute there, we're going to use that for production costs. So thank you very much for supporting what we do. Thank you for being here after the break, because we know we were off for a couple months for the holidays and that kind of thing.
But we back.
But we're back. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yes, in 2 weeks. Thank you, guys.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.